Hello everyone. Today I would like to talk about autoimmune disease and how it can affect you as you get older. Now, if that is of interest to you, then stick around. Did you know that there are over 100 autoimmune diseases that are currently on the books? An autoimmune disease is when your own body starts attacking itself for one reason or another. 80% of women are likely to get an autoimmune disease at some point. Sadly, very sadly, it will take that woman over 14 years to eventually get a diagnosis. And that is because symptoms of an autoimmune disease are varied and different. It takes doctors that long to figure out what is going on. It's not as long as men have to wait. And yes, I know that sounds shocking, but it is the case. And also that women are far less likely to get a diagnosis before men. Research shows that when asked about their pain threshold, and perhaps they're saying it's a 7 or 8, then they are assumed to be overreacting, so the pain number is downgraded. Women are often assumed to be hysterical, and medical professionals tend to assume the pain must be a 3 or 4, therefore diminishing or dismissing their symptoms. For men, however, it is assumed they are being stoical and underestimating their pain. So their symptoms are often taken more seriously. Given that 80% of women will get an autoimmune disease, that will be undiagnosed for probably up to 14 years or more. Doesn't it mean that it's about time that medical professionals change their mindset? Doesn't it mean they need to get educated? I find it's astonishing that women's health isn't even on the medical syllabus when they're training to be a doctor. They can do it as a side course, probably half a day, or so I've heard. Don't you find that extraordinary? I also heard on the Mel Robbins podcast today that I was listening to, where she was interviewing a very erudite doctor, female doctor, that she was saying the link between childhood traumas throughout life impact women's health massively. They give rise to autoimmune diseases. And without tackling those childhood traumas, or marital traumas even, you are likely to incur autoimmune diseases as you grow older. Now, I had polymyalgia several years ago, and I just didn't know what was wrong with me. I started to have aching hips, aching limbs, aching shoulders. Literally, I was walking around like some decrepit old lady. I was unable to walk for any distance, and getting up out of a chair was really problematic. It took so much effort. I just didn't know what was going on, and the pain was horrendous. Well, I went to the doctors and I didn't get much help. We eventually went privately to see a rheumatologist, and he didn't say anything about polymyalgia, which it is, being an autoimmune disease. The first thing he looked for was to put me on steroids. High-dose steroids to sort out the polymyalgia, which it did. I was put on the steroids. Over the next 6 weeks, I put on 2.5 stones in weight. My face went rounded and I felt thoroughly miserable. I had hot flushes. I felt some sort of rage inside of me. I changed. I didn't know what was going on with me. And yes, I wasn't in pain anymore, but the effects of the steroids was horrendous. And over the next few months, I had to wean myself off them very slowly. And I'd cut the dose down by 0.5 milligram, and then the pain would go back, and then I'd have to put it back up again, and then I'd try it again by 0.25 milligram, and so on and so forth. This went on for months and months. And in the end, I got it down to 0.5 milligram and I stopped. However, nobody actually told me that when you're put on prednisolone, a steroid, a high-dose steroid, then your adrenal glands stop working immediately, because they are the things that produce cortisone to help you get up and go. Nobody told me that. And when you come off steroids, that is why it's important that you come off slowly. However, nobody tells you that sometimes your adrenal glands don't go back to working properly again. So you are left up the Swanee without a paddle. You don't know why you have become a person that has no energy after 10 a.m. You just don't know why. And you go back to the doctors and they say, well, you know. Then they make your husband your carer. And it's shocking. So what I found was that, this was the time when I also had restless leg syndrome. So what I found out was that polymyalgia as an autoimmune disease can be treated with low dose naltrexone. Steroids is like hitting an egg with a hammer when you just want to crack the shell. What you need to sort out for any autoimmune disease is something that will bolster the levels of endorphins in your brain, because they are responsible for your autoimmune system. If you know this, then it is up to you to be your own health advocate and go to your doctor and say, I have this, that and the other, and this is what I need. Now, given that doctors in general practice don't prescribe low dose naltrexone, it is up to you to find the place that will. Up to you to sort yourself out. Be your own advocate. Don't think that doctors are gods that must be obeyed, come what may. They don't know everything. And low dose naltrexone is able to treat tons of autoimmune diseases. Tons. If you go onto the ldnresearchtrust.org website, then you will find that out. That said, it got me to thinking about my own levels of inflammation. And I do have high levels of inflammation in my body, which is not good. One of those sources of the inflammation ongoing are my Achilles tendons, which are proving really problematic despite the 4 injections that I've had into them, and that was painful. So I thought, well, if you have gut problems, and autoimmune disease can cause a leaky gut, if you have gut problems, then you will undoubtedly have high levels of inflammation. So I thought I would start taking LDN, not just in the morning, 4.5 milligrams, but at night too. And I started last night to see if it will bring down the pain in my ankles, because it's stopping me from exercising. It's stopping me from going on long walks because I pay for it afterwards. So I've started doing that, and hopefully it will bring down the inflammation levels in my body and therefore in my Achilles tendons, and I do keep my fingers crossed. I'll let you know how that goes on. At the moment, as of this morning, I do see a little glimmer of hope. I normally get up in the morning and I find it very difficult to walk. It's painful because my Achilles tendons are so sore and it's painful. However, this morning it wasn't quite as painful as it has been, and I have been doing a lot of walking this week, back and forwards in the garden and so on and so forth. So I'll keep you updated. But my advice to you, if you have any autoimmune disease, and that includes even psoriasis, multiple sclerosis, all sorts of things, why don't you go onto the ldnresearchtrust.org website and look at their list of conditions and see if your condition is on it. It might be the best thing you've done for your own health ever. In fact, to save you the effort of going onto the ldnresearchtrust.org website and the conditions page, I'll do just that, and I'll copy all of the conditions that LDN is able to help, so that in the next few tiles of this video you'll be able to read if your condition is on it. And therefore start your journey. It might be the best thing you've ever done for yourself. And if you have any problems or want to know what to do next, email me. It won't be a problem. I will help you. And if you have been, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.